We are in section 6, practice capability development for the supplier management practice. In the exam, there will be 2 questions from this topic, and those 2 will be understanding type of questions, the Bloom's level 2 or BL2, that is. We will be, first of all, looking at what the ITIL capability model is in brief, and then understand the capability criteria within this model and how those map to the practice. So we begin by first understanding the practice capability levels. So within the ITIL maturity model, 5 capability levels have been defined, and these can be applied to any of the 34 management practices in ITIL. And so there are 5 levels, beginning with level 1, the lowest level, and moves up through level 2, 3, 4, and 5. At level 1, the practice is not mature, and the maturity begins at level 2 only and increases further through level 3, 4, and 5. So level 5 is the highest level of maturity for the practice. And another thing to note, first of all, is that the practice success factors, there were 3 of them for this practice. They take time to develop. They cannot be developed overnight. Therefore, similarly, the maturity levels can be increased gradually and not too rapidly. Level 1, the practice is not well organized. It is performed as initial or intuitive. It may occasionally or partially achieve its purpose through an incomplete set of activities. Now, for the exam, you need to recollect these words because the questions are purely Bloom's level 2, understanding questions. There are no application questions, so you need to know the theory properly. So some key words at level 1 are not well organized, performed as an initial or intuitive manner. The practice purpose is not achieved or achieved only sometimes or only partially achieved because the process activities are also not being done completely. Level 2, there is systematic achievement of the practice purpose, which means the practice purpose is achieved, but the activities are basic. Whatever minimum activities need to be done are done, and there are specialized resources, which means some of the roles of the practice will be in place. Level 3, the practice is well defined and achieved its purpose in an organized way. This is where the organization happens much better, using dedicated resources and relying on inputs from other practices that are integrated into a service management system. What that means is, while in level 2, we do have the specialized resources such as the supplier manager and the supplier coordinator, they may be performing other roles as well. But in level 3, they are dedicated. And the second thing is that there is integration, which means there is integration of suppliers. There is also integration of the information aspects and so on. And there is also the value stream concept because at level 2, the value stream is not there yet. The practices are isolated, meaning the supplier management and other practices work on their own. But at level 3, that's when the integration of supplier management with other practices also begins, and the value streams are supported due to that. So that is level 3. So remember also the word the organized way for level 3. Level 4, the practice is highly organized and achieved its purpose, just like level 3. But at level 4, the unique thing is it is not only highly organized, and what that means is the performance of the practice is continually measured and assessed in the context of the service management system, which means that there are measurements taken based on, meaning the metrics are first of all defined and established, agreed, and then KPIs as well based on metrics. And those are regularly assessed and reported, measured, assessed, and reported. So that is level 4. Therefore, it becomes highly organized. Level 5, this is about continual improvement of the practice. So 4 is just measurement, but 5 is not just measurement and reporting, but also the continual improvement based on the measurement and reporting. And the review of the measurements and the reports also occurs at level 5. Because only then the improvement ideas can be generated. So keep this into perspective to understand the 5 levels of capability. And this gives you an overview of the whole model. So there are 34 ITIL practices, as we know, in ITIL 4. Each of these practices has some practice success factors or PSFs. Usually every practice will have somewhere between 2 to 4 PSFs, which together fulfill the purpose. Individually, they do contribute to fulfillment of the purpose, but when all the PSFs are active, and enabled and in place, then the practice will fulfill its purpose. And we have seen also that each of the PSFs have its own metrics or has its own metrics. And therefore, the capability criteria are defined for each of the practice success factors, meaning each of the PSF could have somewhere between 5, 6, 7, or 8, or even more capability criteria. And each of these criterion are mapped to a specific level of the capability model. So for example, for the first PSF, which is about the sourcing strategy, there could be several criteria and they are mapped to different levels and also the different dimensions of the service management. So some of the criteria could be people related, some process related, some suppliers related, and some information technology related. So that's what we are going to delve in shortly. And what I just explained is actually mentioned on this slide, meaning in summary, there are capability levels from 2 to 5. Of course, we have level 1, but that is not a mature level at all. And the criteria for each PSF for every level can be a measure of or indicator of the practice maturity level and how the practice contributes to the overall organization service value system. And as I mentioned, each criteria is mapped to one of the 4 dimensions of the service management to specific levels, such as level 2, 3, 4, or 5. And of course, if the capability level is higher, such as level 4, there is more comprehensive realization of the practice. And also note that generally automation happens at level 3 or higher because automation is possible only if the practice is well defined and organized. And at level 3, we have dedicated resources, meaning we do have the supplier manager and the supplier coordinators at level 2 also, but they're not dedicated. And when they are dedicated, then it becomes level 3. And apart from that, at level 3, there is supplier integration into the organization. There's also the integration of multiple practices into value streams, and integration of various information systems as well happens at level 3. And that's when the automation is also completely in place at level 3. It is possible that some automation can be done at level 2 also. Some of the practices do that.